When the Saints Come Marching In is an American gospel hymn first recorded by Louis Armstrong and his band in 1938. I bet you could find this recording somewhere on YouTube. I like to use this piece as a way of opening up our use of the bow. So far we've been limited to the two red dots, and I'd like to open up the tip of the bow as well as the entire lower half of the bow in this piece. So far, we've only been opening up our bow arm from a very square shape to more of a triangle shape. Square, triangle, square, triangle. And what happens to a lot of students when they start to approach the tip of the bow is that the bow no longer remains straight. Look, that's because our arm naturally wants to go in a circular motion to the right side of our bodies. So to counteract that natural motion of our arm, we'll have to actually push our arm and hand away from our body in order to maintain a straight bow. We usually want to maintain a straight bow so that we can maintain a very big sound throughout the entire bow stroke. Occasionally, there will be opportunities where you actually do want to come out a little bit towards the fingerboard for the purpose of having the sound decay or decrescendo a little bit. But generally, when you want to maintain an even, loud, strong sound, you want to have a straight bow. So I'm going to open my arm up to a triangle shape, and then in the last couple inches of the bow, I'll really want to push my arm and hand away from my body. And that might be a little bit stretchy at first. Yeah? It's even more difficult, if not impossible, if your violin's too far out to the left side. Right? That's not going to work. So you can actually bring your violin in slightly. Down bow, and now push out. Pull in. Square. And we want to turn that into one really easy natural motion. In addition to just pushing out my arm and hand, I also feel like at the tip of the bow, my arm is going to elevate slightly so that I can really easily lean into the bow at the tip. I've always found that approaching the frog of the bow is much more difficult for students. Eventually, we'll want to develop a kind of pivoting action of the thumb and fingers for changes at the frog. Something that looks like that's likely a little bit too complex for where we are right now in violin playing. An easier way to approach the frog is this. As we approach the frog, I'll raise my wrist and arm slightly and then change directions. So. For now, that's an okay way of approaching the frog. It's very simple, and the change of bow is pretty smooth. We just raise the wrist and arm and come back down. We don't have to change the speed of the bow or really lighten up the weight of the bow to any large degree. The reason I don't like that change at the frog for very advanced students is that it is a little bit inefficient to be raising the arm so high, and we won't be able to sustain a really huge soloistic tone with that kind of bow change at the frog. First, you'll want to practice some whole bows, and you could do that even using the duet parts in some of the earlier pieces, like Mary Had a Little Lamb. One thing that I think is interesting to note is that the upper part of the arm really doesn't do a lot when we're bowing. Down bow to the tip, we push out a little bit, and up bow towards the frog. Only in the last 6 inches or so of the bow do we need to utilize a little bit of the upper arm. Now, if you find your bow skipping on the string, you're probably holding on to it much too tightly. We really should be able to use the weight of the bow and a little bit of the weight of the arm to produce our A string sound. If you're gripping very hard with the thumb and the first finger and second finger especially, that means you're actually lifting the bow up off the strings and trying to play at the same time. No, we should be able to balance the weight of the bow on the string and add a little bit of extra arm weight.